Hello everyone, Phoenix 601 here with some legends, right? So, Independence, right? So I played a few Independence games just because, well, first of all, we got a story to tell about the Independence, right? My just hate relationship with Independence, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But anyway, I played a few games with it because it is available in the store right now for the current event currency, right? The Greek currency, whatever it is that I can't pronounce probably, I'm sure. So I wanted to get at least a little bit of Independence action out there for people to see, right? And one pro to this ship is the dive bombers are actually pretty decent at going after destroyers, right? You see I kind of whiffed that one a little bit there. But, you know, it's always, like, I always have this, like, this argument of, like, you know, the meta has changed a little bit, right? The gameplay has changed a little bit when it comes to carriers since the, like, big carrier update that happened early in the summer, right? And so, you know, the playstyle's a little different, and I haven't quite gotten used to it yet, right? So, but I did want to call out that, like, you know, you get, the dive bombers are 3 bombers that drop 2 bombs each, right? So, like, you can get good hits on destroyers, right? It's really tough to get torpedo hits on them, right? But, like, you know, so it's got that going for it. You can do some decent destroyer hunting, whether or not you think that's worth it or not, right? Like, you know, in the beginning of the video here, I was kind of forced to go after, there were 2 of them capping our zone. It was capture the base, right? And I was at least able to get the defend, you know, banners and re-trigger the, you know, reset the base capture, right? So it allowed my team to win that game by capturing the enemy's base. So it worked out, right? Like, but like, sometimes I have this hatred of being a carrier and everyone telling me my job is to go after destroyers, right? I think it's a little different now. I think that the carrier job is more just, you're kind of on your own and you go out and do as much damage as you can, right? Like, whether your opinion, that's your same opinion or not, right? But yeah, so here we are a little bit into our first game that I want to highlight, right? So I am actually using Commander Picard from the recent Star Wars collaboration. So you probably have him, right? If you've been playing the game the last few months, there was a mission where you could get Commander, you know, you could get Captain Picard for free. You didn't have to buy him through the store. You could if you wanted to. But so if you were playing enough, you probably have this commander, and I'll show him off at the in between here, right when we're finished with this game. Whether or not he's the right choice for Independence, I maybe so, maybe not, right? Like, that's up in the air, right? Like, that's your opinion, right? Like, but he is a little bit more geared towards the Tier 7 Enterprise aircraft carrier, and because that carrier has the dive bomber planes do AP shells instead of HE shells like this ship does, right? So I like this better. I did not buy the campaign to get Enterprise. I was not interested in that ship, right? So I managed to hold on to some doubloons there for once, right? Like, I managed to not buy that campaign, but we still got Picard, so I was playing around with him, right? So used him on, I think I played around with him on my Saipan, right, my Tier 7, because I do have that ship, and then we were using him here as well, and then I'll play another game, I'll show you how I did the build, because even though you don't have AP bombs for your bombers, there are other options to pick in the commander build that aren't AP bomb centric that I think are valuable, right? So I think it's still a good choice, right? I mean, there's only so many choices for aircraft carrier commanders for each country, right? But, like, you know, you do you, right? Like, so I forget the other guy's name, but I will go through him as well. The sort of the standard one that you get that you can buy for Commander XP from the store, right? Like, so, and he's good too. I think what's nice with Picard is he's got a base trait that boosts, I think, health for your planes, for both torpedo and dive bombers, right, for his base trait. And so I think where the value comes in for Picard is potentially if you like playing carriers, right, like that would probably be a good base trait to use on, you know, as an inspiration for whatever other, you know, commanders you're actually using on your carrier, right? So there's that. But I think if you do like the aircraft carrier Enterprise, he's probably a must for that, since since he does have the additional perks for AP bombs if you select those, right? So this is my thought process behind using him for independence, right? But yeah, so we've got 2 games here back to back. We're doing like so. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the greatest carrier player, okay, right? I used to feel more comfortable as a carrier player when I would play before all the big changes, right? So the biggest one being, you got this fuel gauge down at the bottom, right? So you get a limited amount of time basically with each you know, squadron that you take out. They added that used to not be a thing. And so I used to, and then spotting, right? So when you spot someone with your planes, your allied ships can't shoot them anymore. You used to be able to. So I took it upon myself to be a team player when I played as carriers, right? And so I would do a lot of things, like I would fly towards allied ships that were getting, you know, bombarded by the enemy carrier, and I would drop my fighter planes over top of those ships. Now it's like nobody freaking does that. Like, unless it's like circumstantial and I happen to be flying over them, I don't do that anymore, because you get such a small amount of time with each squad. It's tough to go out of your way to try and support your team like that, right? And the other thing I would do a lot is go and hunt down destroyers. I wouldn't necessarily attack them, but if I noticed my allies were shooting said destroyers while I was spotting them, I would just keep flying over them and keep them spotted until they died, right? Like, so, and I felt like I had a lot of success. You know, sometimes I put up decent scores and XP scores, right, with that, because, you know, I would prioritize those, like, sort of important game-winning mechanics, at least what was in my mind, what would help my team win, right? And then I would go for damage on, like, battleships and stuff like that, right? So, like, I would just kind of try and play this multi-role, and I felt like I had some success with it, right? I don't feel like, you know, I feel like I'm doing more damage in some games with the new setup, right? But, like, I don't know, I don't feel as valuable as I used to, right? So, like, I haven't been playing carriers as much lately, but I was like, all right, we got a new commander, we got Captain Picard for carrier commander, and Independence is available in the store right now for the event currency, right? So, well, I'll you know, I think I talk about that in some of my other videos that I've just put out for, you know, like, you know, the latest update, right? So go check those out. But you can get close to, I think it's like 6,000 or 6,500 of the like Greek bucks, whatever they are, whatever they're called, right? I'm sure I can't pronounce them, by doing the calendar event and the campaign and potentially Admiralty backing. So you can get close to being able to buy the Independence if you were interested in it, for like almost free-ish, right? I do think you, at the end of the calendar event and at the end of the campaign, if you manage to hold on to all your Greek currency, right, your event currency, you'd still have to buy some of the like crate bundles that come with more of the event currency. You'd have to buy a little bit, right? So there's some choices out there, and if I have those ships, I will play them and try and get videos out on them. I know the Georgia is one of those. That would be my personal one that I would go for. If you didn't have the Georgia, I would go for the Georgia. And then there's a French tier 5 destroyer, like Agile or something, like, I'm sure I can't pronounce it. I obviously can't, right? And I have that one too. I'm not a fan of that one, right? So like, but like based on your play style, right, what you enjoy, and if you were willing to spend like the few extra bucks to top the event currency off, you could get those for fairly reasonable prices, right? Like it's not free. It's not. I'm pretty sure I was trying to like add up all the places you could get the currency, and I think you can only get to like 6,000, and that's with buying Admiralty backing for the campaign too. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, as you can see, I'm doing better. I seem to be doing better with bombs with the Independence, right? And I do think they made changes to this ship because I do think it was a little underpowered. So I think they made some changes to it, some tweaks and some buffs or something. It definitely feels that way when I'm just by organically playing the ship and the carrier, right? When the carrier update took place, right? So kind of a weird decision that I made here, where I'm like basically flying over these cruisers to try and get this these torpedo hits on this battleship. But it was like at the time was like better lined up, and then of course yes, he's turning in. So yeah, I lose a lot of planes here. I don't know, I think I try to get another run here, but I can't remember if I actually survive it. The nice thing is with the fuel, you can see I'm completely out of fuel, right? So if you start your run with you know, at least some fuel, right? Like it lets you finish your torpedo run or your dive bomb run before forcing you back to the carrier to grab it. So yeah, so we do get a second hit on the Tennessee to finish him off. So I think we get close to or a little over 100,000 damage in this game total, which is, you know, like respectable, right? But I know there's some good carrier players out there that have been getting some pretty high numbers with the new update, right? So I went for the battleship here just because I was kind of eyeing up the cruiser originally, and battleship was like just sailing in a straight line towards it, so it was just too tempting not to go for him, right? So we land 5 of 6 bombs there, and then I'm looking at the scoreboard, I'm looking how many ships we have left, and I'm like, all right, I might have to move my carrier back. So yeah, so just like keep an eye on this game, because it almost ends up being a disaster, right? Like, it's one of those games where I'm like, we got this, right? Like, and I was being kind of, you know, I was playing it easy and fun, and we almost ran into a situation at the end here. So, but yeah, we're getting decent hits on these guys, right? Like I said, I'm not the best carrier player, but we're keeping the zone out of their hands. We've got a couple of defends there. I think they're going to probably end up getting the capture here. But like I said, you know, like we're spotting these ships as we fly over, but you know, some of them are probably only spotted by us as the planes, and so my teammates were potentially not able to shoot at them, right? So they do end up getting the zone capture here, get a decent run at the battleship, right? So we'll take advantage of that. It's just like beautiful, right? These American torpedo bombers, you can see it's a pretty long run that you get, that like you've got to line up those torpedoes, and they're not the fastest moving torpedoes either, right? But you can start your run really early. Look, we get 14 seconds total, right? So, you know, like, and I'm like pushing it like right to the edge there too. But you know, like, yeah, you get a lot of time to do your torpedo run, but like, you know, they're still kind of tough to hit, right? So that's where the balance is, I guess, I suppose, right? So I was hoping to get a flood there, but it's probably on damage kind of. We get a flood on the previous run, I can't remember. Anyway, so these two, the two last ships on my team, there goes our cruiser, and now we just have the battleship. So I'm like, uh-oh, like, so we go into the map view and autopilot our, our carrier to run away yet again, right? Because we're kind of right on the edge of being spotted, right, as these guys come around the corner. Land some decent hits there. Our ship on our team kind of, you know, missed the torpedo shots, right? So that would have been nice to get rid of that guy. And then he's just like losing it. Like, he had a lot of health. Like, the guy on my team had a lot of health, but he's just going down here like pretty quick. So, but we finish off the Hyuga, and then it's just this cruiser left, and we're actually in spotting range right by him right now. So I'm glad we had told our carrier to start running away, because he ends up getting our battleship with these torpedoes here, and it's just us, right? So we're ahead on points, and we just get out of spotting range, right? So we're kind of home free. There's no way he's catching up in the like 40 seconds. But I was like, that game went from like, this is pretty easy going game, we got this win, to like, oh no, like, I gotta do something about this. So we'll take a just luck shot up with torpedoes here and see if we can't swing around and get one more run at him before time runs out. And then I'll go and show off the commander, and then I'll show you what I change, right? So we're using Picard right now, right? So I think one of his perks, if you don't pick the like the AP bomb perks from him, I think one of them is like better like bomb grouping or something when you're dropping bombs, right? So we didn't quite drop that. You see there's only one torpedo. We didn't get the hit because it wasn't like armed or back up to the surface as it went under his ship, right? So we didn't get the hit there, but we win the game, and we'll check out the leaderboard. And then yes, this is Picard. And so I was kind of like on the fence about using him, but I'm like, let's do it. Like, this is a new commander. Let's just try it out, see what it looks like on Independence. Since Independence is available in the store, we do take a solid 3rd place there with 2,000 XP. That's not half bad, especially for me as a so-so carrier player at this point. At this point in my life, I used to be so much more confident playing carriers. And then I'm using, flight control mod 1 over return speed, right? So I don't, it's tough to tell which one of those would be better, right? It all depends on how you're managing your planes, right? And then I did pick the, the more hit points for your planes here over the AA damage, right? It's like, I'm always kind of like, just move your carrier around appropriately, and you shouldn't have too many issues with and needing more AA, right? But yeah, so his base trait is more health for your planes, basically, right? And so, and then for inspirations, I put these 2 guys on him. I might change out this Conrad guy. I do like the additional movement speed here, right? So like, it's kind of like you get some more AA and you get some more movement speed, right? And so swatting at flies just for more AA damage. I went concealment here, aircraft detectability, right? And then since I like the bombs better, I put my perk on the bombers here, right? So, and then here's the one that's unique to him. Well, I think 2 of these are unique to him, but this is the one you would pick if you were using Enterprise, but I picked Engage because we don't have AP bombs on Independence, right? So you pick the other one. And then this Corkscrew one is also AP shell centric, right? So you would only use this if you were using the Enterprise, right? So like, so I picked Fully Packed, and my opinion now on Fully Packed is it's kind of useless, right? So I went to Earnest King, so we're gonna play. I jumped right to a new commander if you didn't notice, right? And I put Picard as an inspiration, and I put this guy for better HE bomb damage as well, right? And so he has AA firing range for his perk, and then AA damage there, aircraft cruising speed here, bombs there, right? Because I like the bombs better. So I'm picking that one. I'm using them more when they're available, right? Like if I'm running low, I'll switch to torpedoes, or I kind of tend to alternate, right? And then this one, now you get this chance for fire, right? Plus the legendary perk of dive bomber airspeed and incoming damage to your carrier if there's not, right? So jumping into a game with the new commander setup. And so the reason I say that Fully Packed on the carrier commanders is kind of useless now is because you only, like, at least for here, you only get fighters now, right? And fighters can't spot for your allies anymore. So that's something that's been taken away, so they've been kind of nerfed a little bit there, right? Like, I would do that previously. Like, if I was close enough to a battleship to spot the battleship, I could drop fight, and not within their AA range, right? There's a sweet spot because your fighters go down fast if you drop them over top of enemy ships, right? Like, they go down fast. But that would help keep things spotted, right? So, like, now it's not, you can't do that. So your only thing to use them for is right now you can see that we've got, so I waited just a little bit because I think that the enemy carrier was just finishing a run, right? So I held off, and then I dropped fighters over top of these guys because they were the ones getting picked on by the enemy carrier, right? So, and then you used to have an engine cooldown, and that's gone too now, right? So you have unlimited, like, full speed ahead while you're flying your planes right now. Like, you used to not have that, right? So that you used to, like, max out. It was like a heat thing or something, and so you had like an engine cooldown consumable, and that's gone too now. You know, so like, and then I think in the later tiers, like when you get up to 7s, there is like a shield, which is like a defensive perk or a defensive consumable that like allows your planes to take less damage for like a few seconds, right? So I think that one still exists, but on Independence, it's, you know, it's just fighters now, whereas you used to have a cooldown for engines too. So like, I think fully packed is just not, there's not as much value in it anymore, even at the later tiers, right? Because that engine cooldown's gone and your fighter planes can't spot anymore, so there's not as much value in having more of those. So I used that, right? So now I'm starting to switch to whatever the other legendary perk is for my carrier commanders, right? So I think, yeah, fully packed is gonna get put along the wayside, right? Like, it's gonna, like, there's not as much value in it, right? So, but yeah, 6 hits there. And we're up to 19,000 damage. He damage conned it right away, so we'll see if we can't trigger another fire. Sometimes with like how quickly you've got to do the next run, sometimes if they've got a longer damage control, you know, it's still going, but we do get a fire there, so that's perfect. And then we see there's a destroyer coming here, and I didn't notice it until, oh, so I think I did hit reverse. But I think, yeah, like, I'm glad somebody took that out, but I think did I hit reverse or not? So I think, like, I run into this situation where, like, these battleships start wanting to come through here as well, and we've got to kind of move that. We're forced to move the carrier to just for survivability's sake, right? But these guys are nice and broadside for a good torpedo run. The problem is it's 3 battleships, and so we're losing planes pretty quick here. And I was like, I'm going to dump these right between these 2 guys. There's no way I'm not getting 2 torpedo hits on at least 1 each, or, you know, so, and sure enough, both of them land on the 1 guy. And then we'll swing back around, but yeah, as you can see, we lost planes pretty quickly here. So we'll see if we can't get this extra run here. And then, yeah, you get quite a bit of time to do your run, so that's always kind of your, especially with these, I think that's kind of the theme for like the American carriers. You get a lot of time for that torpedo run, but it's kind of slow and sluggish feeling when you're playing it, right? So another torpedo hit there. So we do a little bit better with torpedoes, and then yeah, we dropped more planes because their carrier is coming over here. And then yeah, we did hit reverse on our carrier that time, and so now we can autopilot him and he'll turn inside that island, whereas before, I think if you left him where he spawned and you autopilot him off to the left, it would try and drive out in front of that island, and I'd be screwed, right? So decent hit on the Normandy, triggered a fire there. So this is where, like, the Enterprise, like, you can't trigger fires, right? So like you lose out on the damage over time, or the damage over time effects, right? The status effects, whatever you want to call them, with the Enterprise. But the AP bombs hit pretty good, especially on like cruisers, and some other people play with the Enterprise. But yeah, that was one I do not, you know, I mean, it'd be cool to have the Enterprise, but I wouldn't be playing it a lot, so I'm glad I held off on buying that campaign. And then yeah, so we're on the run for the time being. The carrier is not spotted. Got a decent amount of hits with both torpedoes and bombs. So we will just keep pressing towards these guys as they push through and like try and chase us down. I mean, I think that's what they're going for, right? Like, we're kind of teasing them. They know we're somewhat nearby. And then I can see some AA fire here. So I wasn't sure if that's their, yep, the destroyer's there too. It was hard to tell if it was coming from somebody else or these battleships, right? But like I said, it's real tough to hit destroyers with torpedoes, so I'm not even going to bother. Like, I would swing around, do the run, and then all my planes would be dead by the time I try and get that run off the destroyer, right? So we'll pick on this lead guy too, just because he's closer to our carrier. You know, we don't want him to get within spotting range so that he picks us up, right? So, because then that's when everyone on the entire team that's in range starts shooting the carrier, right? Like, you start getting shot right when you get spotted. So we got an island between us, us and him. I think he ends up I think both of these guys keep coming this direction, so I end up having to, yeah, just keep going with the carrier. We autopilot all the way into the corner. So if he's going to chase us, we'll just keep moving and then keep, you know, coming back here and attacking him. So as long as the carrier stays unspotted, we've got a huge advantage over him. And then, yeah, the HE bombs hit pretty good. Yeah, so Independence is available in the store for the event currency. So if you like the carriers, right, it'll be there, right? And I think you're gonna have to spend a little bit of doubloons. You know, play through the calendar event, check in every day, play your one game to get those calendar event currency pieces, and then I do think you'd have to buy Admiralty backing for the current campaign, and then that will give you a chunk of the event currency as well. And then you have to buy one or two of the, like, there's like a random white crate that's out there. I forget what it's called, but when you buy them with doubloons, you get some of the event currency along with it. So you just have to kind of go and look and see how much more you need and buy that many, right? So send the torpedoes, he turns into them, but I think we get the kill there. Yep. He couldn't get away from both of them, so then this leaves us with a decent run against this last one. And if we can get rid of this guy, we could start making our way back on the offensive with the carrier, right? So this, you know, your limited fuel is where, like, I'm really screwing myself over here, right? So yeah, I think it's more important that, you know, so I'm gonna assume I'm gonna be able to get at least a bomb to hit this guy if somebody else doesn't finish him off, right? So I already started autopiloting the carrier back this direction, right? Because I know that when he goes down, you know, it's going to be real tough for us to get planes back in the fight with how far away we had to, they had cornered us and how far away we had to run, right? So, yeah, if we had some help down here from our teammates, maybe we wouldn't be so far pushed into the corner, but we did what we had to stay unspotted, right? It's kind of the name of the game with the carriers, right? So, but yeah, I think, like, if you could see, you know, we might get one run at this battleship just because we're about to run out of fuel. So I'm waiting for a commander. You know it's gonna happen too, where, like, the commander perks give you more fuel for your planes, right? You know that's a thing that's gonna happen here at some point. I was kind of surprised with, like, the current update that, or that, like, Picard didn't have that, right? Like, I was kind of assuming he would have something like that, but he doesn't. But yeah, we had to fly almost all the way across the map, so we only had enough fuel for one bombing run, and then now we've got to take back off. So that's why we've got the carrier autopiloting back to the battle after we had finished that ship off, right? So these guys look like they might decide to turn in. Like, I'm looking at the mini map, and there is a destroyer somewhere. And he's got to be in the zone because it's showing contested, right? So I did decide not to send the carrier into the zone, although I think we've got quite an advantage at this point. We've got the game momentum, right? We've gotten him on fire, too. I wonder if we'll get this kill. Nope. The Tulin finishes him off. Nice job. And then I'm like, all right, we'll see if we can't find this destroyer here, right? So our squad gets spotted, and I'm just kind of, like, taking a guess on where he might be. And then we're looking for AA fire, and there's some, right? So we'll head that way and drop some torps. It's always a ridiculous luck shot. This kind of stuff, right? So yeah, there's the miss there. We'll swing back around. You know, like, he might not be spotted where our allies can shoot him, but they at least can see him on the mini map at this point with the way the spotting works for planes. So we'll take the shot here. You kind of want to come right up on him. Yeah, somebody picked him up and then drop torpedoes, but yeah, somebody else got him. So now we can press in even further, as I doubt, you know, whatever happens here, somebody's probably going to finish off that cruiser before we can even make it to him. But I'm like, if he presses in, it's not a big deal. The game is won, right? Yeah, like we've got like all of our ship, with the exception of one battleship, everyone's pretty low on health here though. That's your chance for the solo warrior medal, right? Like 4 people left on the enemy team with all with low health. Ooh, yes, these guys cannot get a hit on him. We might actually make it to him. There we go. Alright, so we already went through the commander build. And swing and a miss there. So, you know, I did that, you know, kind of midway through the video, right? So we did one with Picard and then one with the sort of the freebie commander, although I would still consider Picard free. You know, if you participated in the Star Trek event, you could probably have him. You might have just completed the missions, you know, regardless. But yeah, so those are kind of the 2 options. If you're interested in the independents, I just wanted to get a game out there with it, right? We'll check out the leaderboard, and then that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and make sure you're following the channel, and we will see you next time.